since we're on a topic of empathy, how did you feel when he died?
Sad, man. Really affected me. It was a sad day. I remember where I was, man. I was doing an interview with a UK rapper. We all got the news because we're all into this shit. So it's like people are looking at their phones like, yo, Von just got killed, man. Like we got that news, and I remember just feeling, I don't know, man. I just felt this like, it was just really sad, and just that feeling of like, because this was like one of my favorite rappers, and like I loved his music. I think his tape, that proper full album that he just dropped, Welcome to O Block, come out like 2 days before he died. I was listening to that shit on repeat for days, and I'm thinking, there's gonna be no more music from Von. Like, what's happened? How has this happened? Like, what's he into it with? I don't know, man. It really affected me. But there's been a few rappers, like people that I like, that I'm into, that die. I mean, even just like Pop Smoke. When Pop Smoke passed, like I was deeply just into Pop Smoke's music, and it's like, I'm not gonna act like it's like affecting me. Like I never knew the Pop Smoke. I never met King Von, but it's like, I feel that loss, and I feel like hip hop feels that loss. Like when Pop Smoke passed, like he was on the road to greatness, and we lost a great when he died. And it's like, I don't know, I feel like people want to act like I'm so removed, but it's like, I'm really passionate about hip hop. I'm passionate about these people.
People would get that feeling, especially how you dress. I'm just saying, you could have came in here with a hoodie, there'd be.
But he's having a special day.
Yeah, we got a lot going on today.
A Mafia day.
It's a Mafia day?
It's a mob day, yeah.
We're going to get into that.
The eagle eye watchers will notice someone he came with.
I'm saying, people that know, they'll know later when we got the content that drops.
All ends of the streets.
You know what's crazy? I think it's really interesting. You know, I want to just hit this, right? I know people like to hit us with the culture vulture thing, right? But I heard something really interesting the other day.
Don't say that because you're right.
1090, but 1090 Jake said how much of hip hop had been influenced by Italian American mafia and mobsters and mafiosa rap and the sorts of things people were rapping about. So much from Italian American music from back in the day. Not music, sorry, the stories and the films. It's just really interesting how it's like this gangster culture that's so popping in hip hop right now. In a lot of ways, it's evolved, and there's been things borrowed from like the Italian Americans and the mob. It's just really interesting how like gangsterism and music evolved.
I mean, because it was popularized. You could go back before that, and you could say, okay, there were black gangs, but nobody really celebrates like their history. You dig what I'm saying? But Italian, they make movies about that shit. They make it look good.
Italians were successful at being criminals, and crime in the streets and hip hop have always been next to each other because hip hop was birthed in the streets. But it's not the same thing as one's being directly influenced by the other. There have always been criminals and street dudes in hip hop because that's where it came from. It's birthed from struggle. So if you're going to struggle, there's going to be crime. Right. That's kind of the key point of struggling. The reason why the mafia is looked up to is because they're successful criminals. They're very successful criminals. Black people are not successful at being criminals. We don't organize very well. So that's one of our issues, and the reason why you look up to something.
In this time.
Period. Yes. Whatever. In the modern era.
Yeah.
Black people in crime, we don't organize very well.
Like the
you look at the Yakuza, but even those were street gangs compared to how the mob moved. The mob lobbied actual politicians. The mob got next to
They got their
actual
hands
people. They paid people off. They did it the right way. So
gangs in Chicago were doing that though. You know, you had Jeff Fort, and you know he was getting into politics. Like that's why they kind of wanted to put a lot of these guys away, because they were starting to get little political. People like Larry Hoover with the growth and development. Like once the sort of African American gangs started trying to get political, you could tell the government, they wanted to crash that shit down.
Yeah, because the COINTELPRO got at us before we were committing crime. They've always watched. So that's not new. And I just hate it when hip hop gets mixed up when we start talking about crime as if hip hop and crime are synonymous.
No,
one's a culture, and the other one happens because of lack of resources.
But hip hop and crime are not synonymous. But gangster rap is the crime genre of hip hop, right?
Gangster rap is the telling of what had to happen with these people before they were able to make a living doing something else.
It's hard to imagine somebody being a criminal and then expressing that life through like rock music. Like, I don't know, it's just kind of like something I haven't really seen. I would actually be super fascinated if that did exist. Or like country or some shit. Like, it's just kind of default. I was having a conversation with a guy who's like an expert in metal the other day, and he said something that made me realize that like, it's not that everybody who listens to metal is racist, but if you're a racist, the likelihood of you listening to metal is like 95%. You know, it's just kind of,
you're gonna listen to the whitest.
It's just that like no matter, for all the time, the metal community is always gonna have problems with racists basically trying to be part of that community, and they're kind of always dealing with it and having to like police it and shit like that. I know in the scene I grew up with, going to hardcore shows and shit, there were literally like gangs that basically like formed in the scene to make sure that when skinheads showed up at the shows wearing swastikas and shit, that they would get the dog shit beat out of them and wouldn't be allowed to come back, you know?
Wow.
To answer your question, it really depends on what kind of crime we're talking about. Hip hop is maybe popularized or talks about the sexier kinds of crime. However, but if we're talking about country music, and if you consider woman beating a crime,
But it's not like a bunch of guys get together to like make money by beating their wives.
no,
like
but there are definitely a bunch of dudes
to
who will
spread
get
their reputation as women beaters.
There are
You know,
definitely
it's
a
kinda-
bunch of dudes who will get together and make money from guys who talk about making songs about beating their wives.
But I don't think people really do that. I'm talking more about like organized crime. You know.
Well, that's why I said the sexier kind. You're talking about the
yeah.
kind that they make movies from. They don't
Right.
make movies about beating their wives, going on meth, having gang fights, beating the shit out of people. You just described the crime, but we glossed right over that. Nazis show up, we beat the dog shit out of them, and we throw them back out on the street. That's a crime, but it doesn't
Right.
sound like a crime when you say it.
Yeah, but that's the same
But it's
reason
a
why
crime.
people make documentaries still to this day. I'll still see YouTube videos popping up basically like documenting skinhead shit. That whole era of like, you know, UK punk and shit is super fascinating to people because the idea of like all these dudes just kind of becoming this like criminal network linked with music. Like the crime thing, honestly, I watch a lot of crime documentaries on YouTube and shit. That shit is pretty fucking boring. But then when you interject the social media and the music, that's when it can actually become really entertaining. But even then, like I've tuned into Trap Lord Ross videos, I'm gonna be totally honest, where it almost just becomes like ambient noise in the background of like, and then so-and-so killed so-and-so, and then these events happened, and then so-and-so killed so-and-so. And because I don't know of any, I don't know who, like maybe I know one person in the whole story, it's just kind of hard to latch onto or like really find it that interesting. Meanwhile, the King Von shit, there's so many players in that story that like a huge swath of Americans already know who they are. Like the Chicago scene, you realize this once you really start doing content about these dudes. Like New York drill, second biggest drill scene in America. The fucking Chicago shit, bro, is huge in comparison. Like the drill, the New York drill shit probably as time goes by will like maybe evolve into that. But also at the same time, a lot of the New York drill superstars really got killed like extremely quickly early on in their career. So it's not like we really got to see like the K Flock story is crazy as fuck. We didn't really get to see it reach any kind of conclusion.
Which is one of the main reasons I hope it doesn't evolve.
Well, speaking of drill, what was the vibe in UK when you were like, wait a minute, that shit they calling drill, that's grime. Like how did they get over there?
It's Hoffa, trapper turn smack rapper. Only smack rapper that you know is smack rapper.